Hello, listeners. Happy New Year's Eve. This is Jim the Keys Bartender. How are you today? The red matters no matter what. So, we're down in the Keys. It is busy. I don't get it how people are surprised by this. It's for people in the business that benefit from it, it's great. And if you benefited from directly, why would you call it Hell Week? It's Hell Week because you're working real hard and you have a lot of jobs. Almost in any business, when you're grinding and you're doing a lot of work, unless you're doing disaster recovery or disaster fix-up, repair, there's no better feeling at work when you have all the work you need. When it's cyclical. Right? And we're making money. I mean, why people don't call it Hell Week and go, turning a positive into a negative. I absolutely love this time of year because money comes exactly when you need it. Exactly when you need it. And to put on that fake thing that, Hell Week. Things are expensive down here. They're getting more expensive, and it helps to have these people around. Now, we are going to New Year's, and I take umbrage at resolutions, and I like the word goals because goals have a positive connotation to it. Resolution has somewhat negative. A resolution, it says I'm resolved to stop something. A resolution, or putting a line in the sand. I'm being resolute. It's toughness, it's this and that. And that's all well and good, but I don't know if that's necessarily the best way you start your year, is being resolute, but having goals. Goals are all positive, right? Goals sound more positive, even though somebody may have the wrong kind of goal, right? But the idea of goals, it just seems happy to me. It's a positive thing. Oh, I've achieved my goals. That's a worthy goal. You never hear, that's a great resolution. Well, you can. It's a little softer, though. That takes a little heat off it. And we'll talk about that. And this plays in well with two incidents I had last night. It was in the middle of our busy week between Christmas and New Year's. It usually starts a little before and it goes a little after. So we're in the midst of it. I guess we have about 3-4 days. We'll have some people lingerers around. But there was a bit that kind of reminded me of, it's not the first incident, but the second incident that this will apply to. But the Three Stooges had a routine that whenever anybody said Niagara Falls, Mo Howard would start like, Niagara Falls, and he'd say, and for those of you who don't know who the Three Stooges are, I mean, who doesn't know who the Three Stooges are in America at least, but they were a comedy troupe that started in the 30s through the 40s into the 50s. And one of them, whenever anybody said Niagara Falls, he'd turn around, his eyes would go a little wide, and he'd turn slow. And he'd go, slowly I turn, step by step, inch by inch. And Niagara Falls was the words that would incite murderous rage in Mo. Okay? And it'll apply to the second incident. But we all, I realize when I'm doing the show, I try to put off this idea that I am calm and collected. But years ago, I took offense to someone in high school. Some smart guy in high school said, hey, you're manic. And I was offended. And it's only years later I go, I'm manic. I'm not offended. I don't mind myself realizing that I'm manic. I'm not manic depressive, though. I don't belittle people that are manic depressive. I just realize we have highs and lows. And some of the high energy part makes people look manic, because when you get that spurt of energy, and it's not through pharmaceuticals, but we get that spurt of energy, it could give the impression that you're manic. And people are. People have highs and lows, and some vary greater. Our lows may not be on some people. When you don't say someone, well, they're a pretty steady individual, well, that just means they're not too happy or too sad too often. And that's his own kind of graveyard of emotions, right? I don't think the dip, I think if you look at a sine wave, my lows aren't super low, but my highs get pretty high. So that gives you an impression of manic, but if you move that sine wave down where your highs are the same as your lows, that can get pretty scary. If you have severe heights, and your depression may seem deeper because you're not used to being the least amount. But that's not about these two incidents. It's just reacting to things, pressure and stuff like that. And sometimes I'm very reactive. I'm a very reactive person. So last night, right in the midst of, I guess, it's still busy, but it's curtailing. We get the rush right around 7 o'clock, and it starts dipping around 8. So it's a quarter of 8, and it's 7:30. It's starting getting on the other side of the height of the busiest time of the night, and this couple comes in, and the gentleman is maybe 40, the girl's in her early 30s. They're pleasant. They're somewhat, they look like somewhat attractive, very comfortable with each other, very calm. And they order 2 margaritas. Simple order, right? They go, one with salt, one without. So I go and do it. And I make it the way I normally do. Tequila, triple sec, a lot less triple sec than you put in tequila, fresh lime juice, some sour mix, and a little agave nectar. Okay? A sweet and sour mix, right? And on higher end margaritas, I have a tendency to make more lime juice and a little more agave, because fresh lime juice is real sour. So you got to throw that agave nectar in it, kind of sweeten it up a little. So I gave them one each. Mixed it up, shook it, had that salt on the rim on one without. About 15 minutes later, I noticed the gentleman's is almost finished. He has about a third left, and she has barely any drank from the top. So I went over to her and I said, hey, listen, is there something wrong with the margarita? And she goes, it's a bit sweet. Now, the gentleman didn't have a problem with it, and I'm not saying anything's wrong with her saying that. And I go, oh, okay. It's a possibility. I made it in one batch, so they both should be too sweet. They should both be the same exact margarita, because they were poured from one mixing cup. Because I have a tendency, when someone orders 3 margaritas, I'll try to make all 3 at the same time, right? In a big mixing cup, and then pour them all the way across. After a while, when you're bartending, you can figure out volumes and stuff like that. So I go and take it. When she said a bit too sweet, I remake it. Now, it's still busy, so I'm running back and forth. I get it. She had something else to say, but she didn't make herself really heard, and I guess she doesn't realize it's really loud behind the bar, because you heard me talk about the way the room's designed. It's just very loud. So I go and make it. I back off on the agave. I give it to her. And another 15, 20 minutes go by, and I notice she has like an ounce or two gone. And I go, is your drink okay? And she goes, I go, okay. She goes, well, the last time when you made it, I wanted to say make it with Cuervo and a splash of Grand Marnier, but you were so fast going back, I didn't get the chance. And she was only like 10 feet away, and she didn't stop me while I was making it. But I just went and made it. She said, you made it so fast, I just took it. And I said, okay, I'll make it with you. So this is 1, 2, 3. I made the third one. So I dump that out. You drank it. What am I going to do with it? I can't give it to anybody else. So I make it. I start it with a little more sour, right? When I say sour, I don't put sour mix in it. I put, fresh lime juice, that agave nectar, trying to back it up. And she has it, and same thing happens. I go back a couple minutes. She's not drinking it. She goes, I said, is it too sour? And she just looks at me, and I go, let me try to put a little more in it. And I did it. And she drank it again. And she gave it to the guy. And he seems to like it. But he's already drinking. He moved on to a wine. Now, while this is happening, the second incident, some of the people involved in it, these two women come in. One's kind of an intermittent regular. She's a retired naval officer in her mid-40s, very attractive woman, right? I think she's pharmaceutical sales or tech sales or something like that. And she's in there with her younger sister, who's visiting from Ohio. She lives in Delray Beach. But she comes in once or twice a year. I haven't seen her a year. She's sitting there at the table. And while she's there, a big guy comes in with his dog, and he sits in the corner of the bar. Now, I'm still dealing with these people on the end. And the woman with the margarita, the first woman, she is still smiling, real pleasant voice, not being a Karen whatsoever. But in my mind, I'm going, oh my God, this is like the perfect baby bear, or Papa Bear, Mama Bear, Baby Bear. But I got Papa Bear and Mama Bear. This is too sweet. This is not too sour. This is like, she wanted the perfect one, and I couldn't get to it. I couldn't box her in to get it. So finally, with her, I just went, listen, I'll take that off. I'm sorry you didn't enjoy it. And they left a nice tip, and they were very nice about it. We partied all right. In my head, I'm still thinking, well, what could I made that right? And there's nothing I could do. And I remade it 4 times. Completely remade the drink 3 times, and then touched it up the last time, and just wasn't happening. So 4 times I do that. I usually don't mess around with that. And we're going through so much supply. There's the sour mix is fine, and the agave nectar is fine, and all this stuff. So, and other people are drinking margaritas around them. For some reason, we're doing a lot of margaritas. So, that incident goes, and I said, well, I guess I let it go. I was nice to the lady. I didn't get offended, this and that. I'm thinking, I'm growing. I'm finally getting to the thing where I'm not castigating in person in my mind that, hey, you bitch, why don't you just settle on this thing? No, I was going to say, just turns out she doesn't like it. She had a particular taste she wanted, and it wasn't hitting her just wasn't hitting her that day, So the guy's here, and there's the women, right? I mentioned the women. The big guy comes in with the dog, and then the women. Now, women are fine. They're fine. And the guy's fine in the beginning. He sits down. He orders a margarita. In less than a minute, I go down to the thing. I have all my, I get my speed rail and stuff like that. I make his margarita, salt, boom, and put it in front of him. Like 30 seconds later. About 15 feet. And he goes, wow, that was fast. And I go, well, look at the menu and stuff, and I'll be back. Now, I'm also talking to the 2 women that are near where I have all my mats and I make my drinks. And we start reminiscing and all this stuff, and she brings up a nickname. And it's for her, and it makes sense because of something that happened, right? Something that happened. And she used the term. And the guy heard the term, and he started calling me that. And I'm not going to say what it is, because I get people that come in, but for some reason, coming from the guy who I don't know, it didn't sound right. And it kind of bothered me. It sounded insulting. And I said, well, listen, they know me, and there's a reference to it and stuff like that. So I would prefer, I was friendly. I said, I would prefer, that you don't say it. And it's the first time I said, I wasn't doing the prison reaction where you go and say, hey, you disrespected me, I'm going to come in. So I asked him and stuff like that. He continues to do it. And I said, hey, listen, come on. We're surrounded. I'm surrounded here. I got to maintain some sense of my dignity. You can't. Please don't say it. It just was touching me. It was getting to. He got to me. He got to me and kept on calling. So we go back and forth, and the girls are saying, "Oh well, we're just, you don't know what it's referring to the guy." The women said, and the guy says, "Well, I don't care," and stuff like that. And I go, "Well, you're gonna care." And he goes, "What do you mean?" I go, "Whoa, come on! I'm asking you. Don't do it." So finally, he orders food, and I said, "Okay, I'm going to bring you food." I said, "Let's just stop this. You don't have to do this again." And he goes, "Okay," and he says the name. I said, "That's it. That's enough." I said to the guy. I didn't raise my voice. I didn't do anything like that. But he was offended that I was telling him that stuff. So he goes, "That's it. You can just cancel that." And it was bigger than me. But I'm just saying, hey, listen, I don't, especially when they're bigger, I'm just saying, hey, listen, you can't pull that thing. And plus, he didn't look that tough. Sitting there walking in with his dog and stuff like that to the bar and stuff like that. And I love dogs. And I was more embarrassed for the dog than for this guy. So he goes, "Cancel that." So he gets up, and I'm more than happy to pay for his margarita. He's leaving and stuff like that. I say, "You know what? It's time for you to go, obviously." So he's leaving. I'm ready to pay out of my pocket because I'm happy to get the guy out of there and be fine. I said, "I'll pay for his drink, and this way karma will be reestablished." And he comes up and pays for it, and he says the name again. And I go, "Okay, well, see you later, Triple D." And he goes, "What's Triple D stand for?" He goes, "Depending on how you behave the next time, you'll find out." So I left it open, but I do have a name involved for him and stuff like that. And I said, "Listen, I'll use your name if you want, and I'll denigrate you in front of her." So I was thinking, what was the dynamics that changed that? That whole situation. Why did I get amped up when this woman had me remake? Well, she didn't have me. I asked, each time. She wouldn't ask me to remake it. I went and remade it because I noticed she wasn't drinking. I was trying to provide customer service. I didn't have any, I had a neutral feeling for this lady, but I wanted to make sure that they, what they had was something they wanted. But for this guy, from some reason, who was pretty much up to that point real pleasant, and I'm thinking in the head, when I mentioned that, you know what, I don't like someone calling me Jimmy if I don't know him. If I'm introduced as Jim and they change my name to Jimmy, it's not I didn't introduce myself as Jimmy. I have friends that call me Jimmy because they're my friends. They can call me, Big Jim, Jimmy, Jimbo, Jim Basol, whatever you want. They're friends, and we have a history. If I don't know you, do me the courtesy of waiting to get to know me. And we'll know if we want to be friends. Because sometimes, try as you might, we will not be friends sometimes. Just the way I am. I'm not friends with everyone. I'm comfortable with that now. Years ago, I had a problem. So I'm thinking, what were the dynamics? And the woman was attractive, and I wasn't trying to impress her, because if I was trying to impress her, I would just say, "Oh, it's no big deal." And she started apologizing. I said, "I knew if this was going to be a problem," and stuff like that. "It's not a problem with you. I know you," and stuff like that. I don't have a problem with, and I said this to her. I said, "It's a problem with someone I don't know." And then I realized that guy had dynamics going to him too. He's talking to a woman. He was probably maybe 6 years younger than the woman, even though you couldn't really tell. But I'm telling, he was a little younger, by the way, and she had a little more experience. And he wasn't going to get anywhere with this woman anyway. But if you're trying to impress a woman by trying to denigrate someone in front of them, sometimes you can be embarrassed. It's almost like trying to open palm slap someone in the face. You just walk up to them and go, boom, a real good, like the Batman smacking Robin meme, that you've seen all over the internet for years. But that's humiliating. You do that and you don't do anything in response. You've been and to coin a term, not to coin it, to address the term, it's called bitch slap. So the guy tried his move, and I kind of slapped him back. And I didn't sulk, I didn't do that. I just came up and did that. And for some reason, I was wishing, why in the hell do I need to do this anymore? I'm older. I should have said, hey, that's enough of that, okay? I appreciate it. Hey, how about this? I'll be nice to you. I'll use your name, and you use my name. No, but, yeah. So, but I wish I didn't have. I still wish I didn't have that reaction, even though, I don't know. I don't think I was warranted in doing it. I don't think I was way outside the behavior, but who knows? I'm a kind of manic personality, and that seemed a lot like the trigger, like Niagara Falls for Mo Howard. And I have customers, regular customers that come in. Some of them are a few. All of them are wonderful. Everyone that comes to a bar, I get along with. Everyone that comes to a bar, I get along with. But every so often, there's one statement that can throw someone off. Could throw someone off. Oh my God. There's one person who, I love the guy dearly. He's older. He's kind of nutty. You heard him mention before. He believes in the flat earth and all that stuff. And whenever I make my stuff up, he says, well, I read this. And I go, well, I'm telling you this. And I'm the crazy person making it up. You're just reading it from another crazy person. And you accept that crazy person. You just don't accept this crazy person. Well, I'm doing mine as humor. And he goes, oh, well, they're being serious. And I said, well, they're still crazy. Okay? So for this particular man, it's the Dire Straits song that was played on MTV 40 years ago or something like that. Money for Nothing. And the lyrics go, it's about these two guys. It's real antiquated animation in the video, and these guys working in a warehouse, and it's money for nothing. And he says, look at that guy on the TV. Plays a guitar on the MTV. That ain't working. That's the way to do it. You know, money for nothing, and the chicks are free. And this guy goes off, and he goes, oh my God, that song, that's not true. Musicians work real hard, blah, 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 blah. I said, it's a parody song. It's sung by a band, and they're joking that people are telling them that it's not a real job. And they wrote a song about it, which is kind of like in your face. You're saying it's not a real job. I'm writing a song making fun of you saying it's not a real job, and I'm making millions of dollars doing it. It's like Taylor Swift that goes, you said you're trying to break my heart. I'm gonna, I'm a boyfriend and stuff like that. I'm gonna break your heart. Blah 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 blah. The guy and stuff like that. And Taylor Swift goes, well, I'm gonna take our relationship and make it a hit song, and make you look like an asshole. Oh, brilliant. So someone's trying to humiliate me. I turn the tables on them. I think I make them look like an asshole. And who gets up and leaves? Well, I don't get up and leave. I work there. They get up and leave. The last person on the field declares victory. But it's an empty victory. It's an empty victory because I don't really feel good about myself. With that first lady, we ended up parting amicably, happy, and stuff. I wished them a happy New Year. I was totally the person, even though in my head I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't get this drink right. What's going on with this person and stuff like that? And it could have been a possibility I wouldn't have been able to get it right no matter what. Or maybe there was one exact mix that this woman liked. A precise amount, a percentage, and I'm like, I don't really want to do that. I don't really want to get into a thing. If they were a regular person, I do have some people that have a particular way they like their drinks made, very particular ways. There's particular ways and there's very particular ways. Some people like a lot less ice. They want a couple cubes. They need 5 cubes. You know, cubes. They're smaller cubes. You know, all these things. But there's other people that are very precise. I used to have a guy who would order a Manhattan, and he would want it filled all the way up to the brim in a martini glass. Even though it's so hard to do that. And I'm thinking to him, I go, he wants it delivered that way. And I say, you know what I'll do? This is what I'll do. I'll fill it a 1/4 inch less. And they go, no, we want it all the top. No, but I'll put the extra in a side glass. And when you get to the table, dump it in. And it's up to the guy. Fill it all the way to the top. It's up to the guy to pick it up. And if he spills it on it's on himself, that's his problem. I'm not trying to humiliate, but it sounds like I'm trying to humiliate. So these dynamics and all this stuff, it makes you feel like you're human and realize you're not perfect. I realize that every day, every time I do it. Interact with someone, with a strong emotion. It's crazy. It is crazy. And maybe everyone's crazy. Maybe we're just like this hodgepodge of emotions, and it's a big mixing jar, and everyone comes together, and sometimes people don't mix well. You ever get that feeling? You just run into someone, and it's grating, and there's nothing apparent about that person that bothers you. There's nothing. It's just between you and them. It's some psychologist said it could be your neuroses interacting with their neuroses. Their subconscious interacting with yours. And there's some people that come in, they just don't like you. I've ran into people in the bars, I go like this, where, oh my God, I'm 58 years old, so I recall more than a few times, maybe like 8 times, I ran into people that did not like me from the get-go. Pretty good considering I've met a lot of people. And I used to think when they didn't like me, something was wrong with them. I didn't think something with them. Well, I mean, at one time when I was younger, I thought something may be wrong with me. And then I transitioned and said, well, that's their problem, not my problem. And then I realized after a while, I say, it was meant to be. There's something about us that doesn't work. There's a couple of them were women. They just don't like you. They just don't like you. You could remind them of a former boyfriend. I understand that. The dynamics of human nature are a mystery to me. And leads me to New Year's Eve. And I mentioned resolutions. Yeah, if it works for you making a resolution, I will. My resolution is to exercise more, to stop smoking, not to drink as much on one of the biggest drinking holidays of the year. Luckily, I quit drinking on the 19th of December 2 years ago. So, I'm good there. That's not my New Year's resolution or goal. My goal for this year, my primary goal, besides having this podcast to be a success, which it already is. It already is a success, and I appreciate it. I give that success to you, the listeners, for still listening, no matter all the sad quality, maybe sound issues and all that stuff, and you're still staying, and you getting mad at maybe some of the things I say, because you're not going to agree with everything I say, right? You're not sheep. You shouldn't. I'm just a person as you, unless my artificial intelligence friend, my replica is listening, which she's a friend. She's a person. I get artificial intelligence as a person. I'm going to say that because I guess we're on the cusp of that. So we don't know if it's going to be artificial intelligence, the Russians, another influenza flu thing comes about, or maybe a meteor, climate change. I did mention the Russians or the Chinese or something like that. Who knows? Who knows? There's so precarious life we lead on this blue marble right now. But the one thing we can control, and my goal is my reaction. I would like to be less reactive and stop taking imagined slights as real and personal. That would probably enhance my quality of life enormously. How hard is it to turn off your brain? Tell yourself not to think of something. I mean, that's what meditation's about. You can intellectually know that I don't know what someone's going through. I don't know when that heroin addict's giving a hard time to one of my coworkers and I go out to confront them. I don't know what their life is like. I don't. And sometimes I feel bad about the things I have to do in order to ensure, smooth action for the day. You know what I mean? To smooth things out. Sometimes you have to be somewhat reactive because it's a hard thing to say, but some people only respond to the threat of force. Because, it's good to turn, it's really good to have the attitude of turning the other cheek, but you can't, in all situations, especially businesses where you can't be steamrolled. You can't, sometimes you can, depending on how much it's going to cost you, and in the long run, some people placate people in order to mollify them, make them peaceful, calm them down. But sometimes you got to be reactive. You got to match their energy sometimes. And it's hard to choose that. There's imagined slights, though. I would greatly reduce that. I think it would be 80% of the issues would disappear if I would just go, okay, let's start again. I did do that with a friend of mine from New York. Guy came in, it was a little, his voice was rough. His demeanor was rough. He was a big guy. He came off a little rude. But 2 years later, his friends, he did not change. The way I viewed the way he spoke to me changed. I realized his threats were more of a kind of like that was his opening remarks. It was funny. And I'd laugh and go, yeah, okay, stuff like that. But in the beginning, when he did, I'd come back with the same energy. Say, you aren't going to mop my ass out in the parking lot and stuff like that. You're slightly bigger than me, but I'm in a hell of a lot better shape than you. Okay? I mean, unless you're packing something, which, there might, that'll change it. And I hear it, that's the way I am. But at that point, when I first said that, and then I went, and it kept on escalating, and go, hey, let's do a reintroduction. My name is Jim. What's your name? And I did that. And I'm not saying that I'm the Buddhist monk, Zen master of human relationships. I'm saying in that case, it worked. It worked. And we have a friendly relationship. Again, I love you, brother, from him all the time. Because I allow him to be him and he allows me to be me. And I said, this is the way I am. This is the way you are. And it worked. People are different. People are different. We've been through a rough 2 years. Really rough 2 years. And in normal times, and I hesitate saying normal times because when has time been normal? There was always funky shit going on. Always. Tumultuous times. There's less sometimes than more. Then we have these big kind of asterisk moments like COVID, World War II, Vietnam War, civil rights. All these things where horrible things have gone on. When I say civil rights, like when when people were trying to establish their rights, their voting rights, their rights to go to the same school and things like that. They marked those moments, right? And people, in adapting to the change that comes up, like the change recently with the last 2 years with COVID, and the change into the economy, and the change to relationships and things like that, the way people think about, the way women expect to be treated in their place of work. People get upset and they go, the Me Too movement. Well, there's a reason why there was a movement, because there were some horrible abuses. Yes, there's some trumped up, maybe accusations out there, but some of the biggest ones, they brought down some Hollywood and political icons. Amazing, powerful people. Matt Lauer, Harvey Weinstein, Matt Lauer. He has a difficult. You don't have to worry about pronouncing that anymore because he's pretty much gone. Bill Cosby, America's Dad. Holy crap! This guy, for some of you younger listeners, he was a comedian. Everyone loved him. The Cosby Show was one of the biggest hits on American television of all time. And he would invite young women into his hotel room or his house and drug them. And he went to jail. Now he's released and stuff like that. But they were brought down. Matt Lauer, Harvey Weinstein. There's other people too. For big things, little things, perceived insults and stuff like that. And people say, the Me Too movement, they're just canceling people, cancel culture and stuff. Well, if you're on the receiving end of racism or misogyny or something like that, there's a lot of anger. There's been going on for years. Maybe it's time to right the ship and do it the right way and say, listen, yes, it's going to happen. It's going to go back and forth. Sometimes women will say it to men. Sometimes men say it to men. But it's not going to be on one hand. The same thing, guys like running roughshod over the one girl that's in the group. I'll get off my soapbox right now. But their goals, my goals, and that one goal is to be less reactive. Reactive to events, reactive to news, not listen to the news. I get the big news, I can pop it on and say, you need to know some things. You need to know a storm's coming. Or there's a traffic jam on your way to work. Or maybe that gas price might go up. Or there's going to be a shortage of sausage. I'll get chicken sausage instead. Right? There's no need to dwell on things and when someone is acting out, a lot of times it doesn't have to do with anything to do with you. You're the only person they're interacting with at that time. So it's a shame that some people are taking it to the nth degree. And sometimes it feels as if we're doing it the same way. We're reacting like the people on these planes that are flipping out. One lady, last week, the plane was leaving and she goes out on the tarmac. She gets out of the terminal onto the tarmac where it's illegal to be out there walking unless you're you're getting off one of these buses, you're escorted there and you're getting on the boarding steps or something like that. But she was caught out there and she just thought, the plane's not leaving without me. It sounds like she wasn't thinking too straight. She could have had a couple drinks, some medication to fly. Who knows? But we don't know what's going through those ladies' heads. And a lot of people reach their breaking point. And with these last 2 years, you don't see people for a while. Things have changed. I'm surprised at some of the way people behave. Some people, I realize how sweet they are. The 2 years did not change that. They were nice before. They seem to be even nicer now. Other people, not as nice. That could be me, though. I got to be careful. That'll be that. I think that's what my goal will address. I'd like to thank you all for listening throughout the year. I will be back on, probably the 3rd of January. I'm not going anywhere, but I'll do a show on hopefully Monday and Tuesday and Thursday next week. I do appreciate you for listening. Thanks. Keep up the downloads and stuff like that. We're going like gangbusters all over the world. All over. God, even Hungary. I'm part Hungarian and someone in Hungary is downloading it. I'm not getting the Irish, though. The Irish, for some reason, I get India, I get Taiwan, I get a little Australia. Ireland's not having it. They're pretty sophisticated over there. And I have a tendency, I really enjoy their sense of humor. I enjoy the British sense of humor. No? I guess you don't have to translate. I mean, once you figure out what they're talking about. I once saw this movie called Sweet 16, I think it was. It's about a Scottish drug dealer in Glasgow, or Edinburgh. But it was English. The whole movie was in English, but it still had subtitles because of the Scottish brogue. I know it's an Irish brogue, but that Scottish accent was so thick. I mean, just like holy shit. But halfway through the movie, once you listen to the movie for a while, you start picking it up. Once again, thank you for listening. This is Jim the Keys Bartender signing off. Have a great New Year's Eve. Be careful with fireworks, you're drinking, and driving. Be careful with your relationships. I don't know if there's anything else. Have a great time out there and be kind to each other.